Hello, hello, hello. Okay, we've got guests coming in and they will trickle in as the call goes on. I am
Hi.
over the moon about this call. Hello, Edie, you're our very first guest. It's so exciting to see you here. Okay, the rules of the call and the way it works is it's kind of a conversation between Lisa and I, but guest questions and comments are so welcome. So if you think of something, you can put it in the chat box during the call. Then I will ask Lisa at the next break in conversation. And what we love on these calls, even quirky questions are always welcome. So if you have
Especially quirky
inventive,
questions.
yes, as inventive as you want to be. Okay, so I have Lisa with me. Lisa, can you say hi to our audience so I can pull you back up on the screen real quick?
Hi, Heidi. Hi, lovely. Thanks for joining us. It's good to see you. Looks like it's bright daylight there wherever you are.
It's oh, I'm envious of people that with
Yeah.
sunlight. Saying that, that's a good point. I want to talk to you about later in the call, your long walks, which I always feel like I'm living vicariously through. So I reached out to Lisa because she had done a video post on Ravenous Butterflies. And I have to say, Ravenous Butterfly is butterflies or butterfly?
Butterflies, yeah.
Butterflies. It has been such a presence through the last few years that when you're having a bad day, when you're having a good day, and we're all on social media, whether for the better or for worse, you pick it up and there is a quote or a poem from somebody perhaps you read when you were a child or you've never heard of before, but it's always prescient. It's always exactly what you need to hear at exactly the time you need to hear it. And I often wondered, who is the person behind this? How do they know what I need? It feels personal. How do they always know what I need to hear? And then I saw a video with Lisa talking about her past. We maybe get into that later in the call. And it stayed with me. And I think I do have a belief that some people in the world are so in touch with their inner being, with who they really, really are, that I hate the word authenticity because it's a meme. It's a joke these days. Everyone wants to use authenticity as branding. But I think it's what we're talking about when it comes to Lisa. And I'll tell you this later as well. I met you before this call because I reached out a total stranger and said, please, can I bring you to my audience? And you again said something on that call that I've been kind of quoting and thinking about and changing the way I live because of one sentence you
What was
said that
that?
struck me deeply. You said, we're talking about your journey and the things you were doing, and you said, I feel like my life is going to be okay. Like I'm going to have a nice life. And the thought never even occurred to me. And when I think about it, and the more I think about it, that's what I want. I think that's what most of us want. I just want to feel like my life is going to turn out okay. And I think that's what we spend most of the day doing, turning ourselves into like somersaults, trying to get to the my life is going to be okay. I can keep going forward because I know it's going to be okay. And I don't think a lot of us have that. And that one sentence you said, you can ask anyone. I've been quoting it. I just want to get that. I just want that. And so I reached out to Lisa. Long story short, Lisa agreed to come on the call. Let me please start with Lisa. Tell me about 10-year-old Lisa.
Gosh, well, thanks for thanks for asking me, thanks for having me, and thank you for everybody for joining. 10-year-old Lisa, well, I first of all, I was born in Sri Lanka. I grew up in Sri Lanka and in East Africa. I came to the UK, sort of this Indian Ocean, barefoot kind of Indian Ocean girl, completely in shock. It was freezing cold. All the houses were grey. It was
How old
miserable.
were you when you
I
came to
was
the
I was
UK?
5 or 6.
Wow.
I didn't have a close relationship with my mum because although we didn't have, my dad didn't make much money. We lived on above the factory of the tea estate where my dad was a tea taster and trader. And we, I didn't get to see my parents much. I was out and about in the garden. I was playing with native kids. I was just running around barefoot. When my brother was born when I was 3, almost. We came to the UK and it was such a shock to the system. I didn't go to school. I couldn't read. I couldn't read until I was 10. Um, we moved to Surrey, which is just south of London, and I really always felt like an outsider. I always felt like I never belonged. I always felt very different. People that I was at school with had been living in the same house since they were born. They ate fish fingers and fries. It was like I was used to curried eggs and I was used to mangoes from the tree. It was like, where am
Oh,
I? What is this place? And yet part of me really wanted to fit in. It was like I just wanted to be like everybody else, but I was really, really glad that I really wasn't, because I had that incredible richness of the way that I grew up, swimming every afternoon, playing with monkeys, whatever it was, going and seeing the elephants at the weekends, going up to the hill country tea estates in East Africa. The earth was red. It was like it was a different upbringing, and I think I always had from that young age, I always had that kind of quest for a kind of exotic richness in my life, sensual. It was a sensual overload, and I've never been able to, apart from now, probably, I've never really been able to reach that, to reach that again.
did you ever go back and visit?
Oh yeah, I went back. I've been back to Africa. I've been to India. I've been to Sri Lanka, and, Mauritius, Maldives, Seychelles, Indian Ocean, whatever, Um, I don't know whether I could live there again, but I mean, I love going back. I haven't been back for ages. But yeah, it was just a different upbringing, really.
Yeah, that because I mean completely different, but I can really resonate with that because my father was from Rome and my mother was from the sticks in California, Fresno, farming land. We spent summers in Rome and winters in I never got used to that. Like just the
Mm,
difference
so
between,
different.
yeah, being on balconies with these movie stars and photographers and, you know, cappuccino, their espresso and their drinks, their cigarettes. And then suddenly you're like in the sticks.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get that. I do. I get that. I
Yeah.
get that. So yeah,
But it
so that
gives
was
you,
kind of,
do you think that gave you a drive to search for more of that sensuality around you in life? Did you always feel like you were missing something then?
yeah, I think I always felt like I was missing something. I always felt like I was very misunderstood by everybody around me. I always felt like I wasn't very comfortable as a child. I lived in my own little world. I was out in the garden, collecting petals or whatever, and trying to make perfume, and it always went moldy, and I could never understand why. And I just, yeah, I was always searching for something, I think. And it was kind of weird because my parents were, they had a certain toolkit that they had from when they were growing up, and they were very aspirational and trying to make it. And my mum was very beautiful, and I just wasn't. I was a real misfit when, as far as she didn't understand me, and my brother was very sporty. I was never sporty. It's just like I never felt like I was ever enough. And I was always kind of searching for something that would kind of pair up with who I was really, and then kind of like, make me complete. And I think the only now, as I'm going to be 60 this year, and we've talked about that. I think now I feel like the only person that's going to make me complete is me. It's like there's nothing else. It's like the only way I'm ever going to be complete is through myself. And I'm realizing that, much more now than I ever have. And I wish I'd known that when I was 18.
There's a book, it's a movie or a book, and you reminded me of it. And this kid was like sure that they were like their parents were from another planet and they were going to come get them one day. That like they were like in the wrong family, they didn't belong there, and like where did I come from? And their parents were going to come, their real parents were going to come get
Yeah,
them one day.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I completely identify with that. I mean, my
What
father and I are very close now. You know, he's getting old and older and stuff, and you know, we are very, very similar in lots of ways. But yeah, I don't know. It was just a strange. I felt very out of kilter with everything else that was going on around me, really. Like I just wasn't. It wasn't. I was in the wrong place, you know.
what did you love? Music, books?
Yeah, I
What
loved
did you love?
art. I loved art. I
Mm.
loved gardens. I loved nature. I loved flowers. I loved books. I loved music. Yeah, I just my favorite thing would be to be in my room with my records, you know, my record player and an incense stick, you know, and all my plants on my windowsill that I grew. I'd be drawing, reading, whatever. And I just loved that, you know, and I just could escape with that. And actually a lot of classical music as well, you know, so I found it just I could lose myself in that while I was drawing or painting or reading or whatever I was daydreaming, whatever I was doing, you know, or not doing, you know, it was yeah.
So did you have a dream of what you wanted to be when you grew up, or
Oh
were you
yeah,
just
I just
living?
wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a painter. I wanted to be creative. I had this vision that I would have this wonderful family, you know, like a big house. I'm not necessarily saying wealth. I mean like a big rambling bohemian sort of house, you know, loads of kids running around, loads of animals, loads of fantastic wild garden, growing veggies, you know, all of that. I just had that vision that that's what I would be like mama, you know, big mama, nature,
I can see it
kids,
like
you
an
know.
aga, or is that
Yeah,
how
well, I had
is
an Argo when I was married, you know, I had an Argo. I had that
that?
house, you know, the wrong husband. Great kids, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah, see, it's that be careful what you dream for. The dreams come true, but they might not necessarily be what you really want. So, career-wise, work-wise, where did you first start landing?
So my tutor when I was at college, after I'd finished my degree, he asked me to go back and teach. You know, he was like my mentor. He was amazing, and I taught there for a couple of years. And then I went on and I went into publishing and recruitment, sort of media recruitment. And then my ex-husband, we met when we were 17. He did astrophysics and he went into IT and sort of tech. And then we got posted, or he got posted to New York. So we went to New York in the mid 90s and lived in Manhattan and then bought a house in Westchester County. Had our first child when we were there, and yeah, and that's when I sort of stopped my career really, because I couldn't work in New York. I was an alien, you know, I couldn't even get
Yeah.
bank account. So yeah, so that's kind of what happened. I started painting again. I joined the New York Watercolor Society. I was exhibiting a bit, you know, so I wasn't very well. I had a real struggle with my weight, and I was morbidly obese, and I was really, really very unwell at that time, and I was in a wheelchair, and physically just very unable to really kind of, you know, take part in an action-packed life, really. I mean, it was a miracle that I had my son, you know, so.
This was the video that you posted that I first resonated with um because yeah, I mean everyone that's seen these calls has heard me go on about how the whole weight thing took over my life as well. But not focusing on this specific on the weight, it's and judging by, I mean, your childhood and the not feeling like you fit in. Then if you've got the weight, when you've got the weight, whether it's healthy, not healthy, people's moral judgments aside, you are living in a world that's trying to push you out. And that was my experience.
Yeah, I completely relate to that. And I think, you know, when you are not twiggy, you know, when you're not super skinny, when you're not a size zero or whatever it is that you're supposed to be in a miniskirt, you know, I mean, I've never worn a miniskirt. Heaven help the world if I ever wore a miniskirt. I've never worn shorts. It's like, please, you know, I've never felt comfortable in my size. And it's always been a massive hindrance because people just look at you very differently. I I realize that now, and I was always kind of condemned by my mum, especially. You know, she took me to Weight Watchers at the age of 10. I mean, you know, locked me in my room if I couldn't if I hadn't lost half a pound or a pound, things like that, made me get weighed in front of her friends, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was really degrading. And I always had this huge, massive, it was like the elephant in the room, really, and I always felt really ugly, really unattractive, really unworthy and worthless because of it. And it was a huge problem. I mean, I don't blame my mum. It was like I said, she had her toolbox, and she used her looks and her beautiful figure and her long legs and everything to get what she wanted, where she wanted, because she did. That was what she had. Um, I didn't. I had a brain, and I just think that, you should never do that to anybody, certainly not your child. And I vowed that if I ever had children, I would never treat my children like that, and I haven't. And they're all perfectly normal, they have their quibbles and their whatever foibles about things, but they certainly don't have an issue with the way that they look, I hope. Because yeah, I think it's really wrong to put that kind of pressure on a child. You
Yeah,
carry
it
it with you the
creates
rest,
the
you carry it with you
problem.
for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it creates the problem. Yeah, because my father did the whole, he used to make, and I wasn't, I think it was like 115 pounds when I was like 15. He would laugh at me, and you're putting on an awful lot of weight in front of his
Yeah,
friends
yeah,
and in
so
front of
wrong.
people. And
Yeah, it's wrong.
that never goes. But I think, and then the other thing I heard, I was shocked, I was horrified, but it stuck with me. One of those horrible movies, American movies, where the guy, he said, "Oh, get a fat girl because they have to try harder."
Yeah, so they're going to be
And
better at this and better at that because they have to really give it out,
yeah,
And
but the
it's like,
truth
really?
is, your whole life, I've overcompensated my entire life. I've had to be smarter. I've had to be better. I've
Yeah,
had to work harder because I thought
yeah,
that I was paying for the sin of not being good enough because I wasn't thin. You
yeah.
walk into
So
the room with an extra like tick against you, you know.
yeah, but you know what, Daniela, in the end, because we
Yeah.
had to try 10 times harder or twice as hard or whatever, we actually are sometimes funny, and we are sometimes
Yeah.
bright, and we are sometimes all those things that
Yeah.
other people have never had to try hard to be, and
Yeah.
be kind and giving and compassionate, because we see things from the viewpoint that other people have never had to see from. And I think that has really been kind of the making of me as a person, and why I did Ravenous Butterflies. It's because I started Ravenous Butterflies for my own self-therapy. That's how it started, because it made me feel good to post pictures of art and poetry and literature. I resonated with what I posted. So when you say, yeah, okay, authentic is a kind of cliche, well, for me, it was exactly, who I was or who I am. And I continue to do that. I don't do it for anybody else. But then all of a sudden it resonated with other people, because there are so many people out there who have had awful experiences in life, or have been downtrodden, or have been told a coercive control, or told they're rubbish, or told they're this, and they start to believe it. And actually, in the end, I think that, Rav has really helped a lot of people get out of that syndrome, and has given them the courage and creativity to be able to think differently and see things differently, and to actually start loving themselves, and having that kind of compassion and that appreciation of who they are. And I think as soon as you do that, as soon as you do that for yourself, it's then that you can give out. You can't give if you've got nothing to give, because you feel so crap and so worthless. As soon as you start, it's like a sort of self-healing process. And, all the stuff I do with my community, all of my volunteer work, all of my stuff on Ravenous Butterflies, it makes me feel better about myself, and it helps other people feel better about themselves. And it's a win-win.
Well, tell me about the day. Do you remember the day, the first post? Do you remember the thought process and the how you came up with the name? And literally, do you remember the day you started Ravenous Butterflies?
Well, a friend of mine came up with the name, and I was posting stuff on my own personal site. And he's his friend of mine, and he said, why don't you just take Ravenous Butterflies, take this name that I've, because I think that's you, and you post the stuff that you're posting on there, because I think that other people will appreciate it. So I did, and that was in 2013. That was about sort of April 2013, something like that. And I couldn't believe it. First of all, there were like 100 people, then there were 1,000. Then I remember saying to my mum, oh, Mum, you should have a look at this, because she wasn't on Facebook, by the way. It's beneath her. But and I said, Mum, you should look at this, because there's like 10, I've got 10,000 followers, or I've got 15,000 followers. And I just had, because for me, my ex-husband was a tech genius. He was always telling me I was rubbish at computers and I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. And all of a sudden, I got all these people that like what I'm doing. And it was, I never monetized it. I never advertised. I never promoted it or anything. I just thought, blimey, there's a lot of people out there who clearly feel very much along my wavelength about life and about what they're going through. And they obviously resonate with it, and that's a good thing. So I just keep going, and I just carried on sort of plowing through it, really. And then it just got huge, and yeah, it's got really big.
And do
So
you have people direct messaging you all the time and reaching
yes, and
out
I
to
don't
you?
always have a
Yeah.
chance to reply to everybody. I have to do it sort of every other day. My biggest problem is people, scammers, and people kind of trolling other women. They'll see a woman and they'll say, "Oh, you look just like my wife who died, 3 months ago," and blah 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 blah. And I just think, really? And they're not just saying it to Joe Blogs; they're saying it to Mary Smith and Joanna Schmidt or whoever it is,
Yeah.
and they're just like. And you just think, really? And then, so I must block about 10 or 20 people a day. Um,
They go on big groups and they
they
reply,
just
I've been
go,
trying to friend you, but you've not let me through. Can you
oh
or
yeah,
can
no. It's like, can you hit me up as a friend because I can't do that? And blah blah blah. And it's like, oh please, and then you get lots of sort of witch doctors and things. My
yeah.
wife left me, but then she came back when so and so put this spell on me, this spell doctor, and you just think, really? And I just think, why doesn't Meta actually filter these people out? Because it's so obvious. If you get one person, supposedly one person who looks like a US Army officer, normally in a uniform with all these flags everywhere and eagles and stuff, hitting on 50 women in the space of five
Right. He
five
fancies
hours.
you, he fancied me.
Yeah, how dare you? I thought I looked like his ex-wife or his wife that died. How can he possibly think that 50 other women do as well? And
I
men,
mean,
you know.
I am lucky in that the narrator's cup of Joe, we get them, but I filter them out because if they're not a narrator, then, but I did
Yeah,
let Natasha through once and she immediately put her topless photo up.
there you go.
But
I get that in Messenger and stuff. I get these big group things, and you open them up and you just think, I'm not opening that. It's like, whoa, how does that get through? So I just spam them, delete them, report them. That's really tiresome. That is just so much, such a waste of time. And I must spend at least an hour or two a day doing that. And
yeah.
it's just ridiculous. People are just unbelievable. I think actually it's mostly a lot of bots. I think it's a lot of computer bots, and I think it comes from places like Russia, the Philippines, I mean, not to name names, but I think that there are places in the world where this happens, and it's definitely annoying.
But what I don't understand, I mean, surely, those letters, my great aunt died and there's 80 zillion dollars and I
Mm,
need a bank account to put
mm,
it in. And
mm.
she was the Queen of Prussia.
No, she was
And
the Queen of Uganda or whatever it is, and you
yeah,
just
yeah.
okay,
And
whatever.
somebody told me once that they keep doing it. They just send them out automatically. It's a bot. But if one person falls for it, it's worth it. But I don't understand how there's still one person in this world that falls for that in this day and age.
I don't
Like,
know. I think people can get sucked in, and I think that because a lot of these people take on actual real accounts, they just hack into them and they just, so they got all the family photos, they got all the stuff that they've stolen, and it looks like a real person, I suppose. I don't know, but I'm just like, nope, you're out, you're out, you're out, you're out. It's
yeah.
just, yeah,
And
that's the most irritating part of it.
the other thing with Facebook, you have to watch what I learned. I'm friends with a lot of narrators, but what I didn't know is that my friends don't check their friends too much. If they see that they're friends with people, they just like accept anything. And then next thing you know, they're like, "Oh, I've just been hacked." And I'm
Yeah,
like, "Really? You've just been hacked? Because you're letting everyone be your friend.
yeah,
Hello. What good is
yeah.
my security if your friends are all hackers?"
Yeah, no, you have to get really wise to that and just
Yeah.
lock down your you know, privacy and make sure you've got somebody to back you up for as an admin and all of that. I learned that, I learned that quite early on, really. And just delete a load of people from your friends list that aren't really people that you know or that you know of through a friend. I mean, yeah, I think it's quite tough.
So now, if you don't want to go here, we can swerve away. But I'm curious, having experienced this moment. And let me interject. Kim says, working customer service desk years ago, we were constantly having to explain to people that they shouldn't send dollars to people they didn't know.
Yeah.
It's astonishing. I shouldn't be surprised anymore. I shouldn't be surprised anymore. Yeah, that's shocking to me. Okay, so you're in New York, and I remember
Yeah.
from the video before that you'd lost all that weight. You'd
Yeah.
gone through a bunch, you'd lost all that weight.
Yeah.
And I know you recently lost it again.
Yeah.
I think the most heart-wrenching thing in my life was when your body starts fighting back, and all of a sudden you start going back up again, and you've lost so much and become this person that you thought you were always meant to be. And then they're slipping away. And it's not a matter of willpower, because there's no willpower in the world when your body gets every single hormone on board to get you back because it thinks it's starving. And I remember that moment. How did you stay or become strong enough to then go, right, I'm going to do this again?
Well, so I was, what was I? I was, whatever it is, 34 stone, which is a lot of weight, and like 400 and something pounds. I don't know, whatever it is. Anyway, and I was in a wheelchair and I was taking up 2 seats in a plane and blah, blah, blah. And that was in about 2000. Then I had gastric bypass surgery and I lost half my body weight. But I never got below that kind of, I'm going to go into kilos because it's easier for me. I never got below that kind of 105 something kilos. And that was after I'd had 2 more children. So I've got 3 children. And I kept it off for a very long time. And I was just like plodding along through life, decided to get divorced because I realized that it was my marriage that was wrong. It wasn't my body weight that was wrong. It was the chemistry between the two of us.
Keeping it off for a very long time, did that mean like constant willpower struggle and dieting,
No, I
or was
was
it just
just
a new way
not
of
hungry.
life?
I just wasn't hungry. I mean, obviously my stomach had shrunk. I wasn't hungry. I wasn't really drinking alcohol at that time. And I just got a dog, and before, this was like 2007 now. And I was just on this kind of equilibrium in terms of my weight. And then I sort of decided to leave my husband in about 2010, 12, something like that. And I still, then after that, took a long time to get divorced. He wouldn't get divorced. And I had a couple of boyfriends, partners, or whatever in between that. And I kept the weight off. And then, I don't know, it came like lockdown. My best friend died in 2019. Lots of other stuff happened, and it was lockdown. Then we sold our family home at the beginning of 2012. 2020, we sold our family home in January. We moved out. We'd been there for nearly 20 years. The children were, living with me. I rented a place. So my best friend had died in 2009, at the end of 2019. Sold the family home in beginning of 2020. Then it was lockdown. Split up from one partner that I had another relationship, which was, heartbreaking for me. After that ended, my mother died. I ended up moving from my rental home to my mum's house, which is here
Oh
now.
my God. It's
It was
like, talk about
all
not getting a break. I mean,
and got divorced all in 2020, basically 2021. And well, by 2022, I was here, and mum had died, and it was just a lot. And I think I was just not exercising. I was because like my head was just, I was probably drinking too much. I was just not, just the combination, I think, of not exercising and not going out. And I think when I look back, I think I became quite insular and kind of shut down, I suppose, and in kind of in hibernation mode, I think. And I just kind of put on weight. And I mean, when I say put on weight, I mean, I never got back to what I was, but I put on about probably a good 20, maybe 30 kilos, which is a lot, you know. And so now so then a friend of mine, I saw her in last August, and I was down in Cornwall, and I thought, my gosh, you look amazing. You look fantastic. She'd lost like 20 kilos. And she said she started these weight loss jabs. And I just thought, well, I've heard about them, but I don't really trust them, you know. But I really trust her. And because she's had
Mm.
such a brilliant result, I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a go then, because why not? What's not to like? There's been so many good reports about it in the press, and so much, you know, medical evidence that it helps with all sorts of other things, not just with weight loss. Obviously, I didn't have any other things. I didn't have diabetes or high blood pressure or anything like that. But, you know, I just thought, well, it will sort of help me with my alcohol. It will help me with my, weight loss. I mean, I had such an amazing result in the first couple of months. I think I probably lost about 20 kilos. That I just started getting really active. I decided to get a puppy, so I got my little dog in October. So since the middle of August, I've lost about over 100 pounds. I've lost about 45, 46 kilos, which means that I'm less than I was when I was about 15 now, you know. And I just feel so much healthier. I feel so much healthier. And when you say, you know, I'm not slim. I mean, I'm an English size kind of 16. I actually bought size 16 trousers today, which is, I can't remember when I was a size 16. It was,
I know
yeah,
that's so much fun too,
you
the
know, I was a
shopping
24, you know, I
and
was a 24, you know, and I've
yeah.
gone to 16. And I just thought, yeah, okay, it isn't, you know, life is much better when you're slimmer. First of all, you can fit into chairs. You don't have to worry about, you know, arms getting stuck on your hips and then taking the whole chair with you when you stand up. You can fit into aeroplane seats, seat belts fit around you. You know, it's like you can get up and down from, you know, loos from toilets that are really low because it's easy. You know, you can just reach parts of your body that you never thought you could reach. I mean, it's like,
And
it's
people are
amazing.
nicer to you, aren't they? Because that was the
People
part
are
that pissed
so
me off.
nice to you. Yeah.
I was
People
like, really? You
look at
couldn't be
you.
nice to me 3 months ago?
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I find it unbelievable that people actually smile and talk to you and help you and look at you. And it's not just men, it's women, it's children,
Yeah.
it's everyone.
Everyone.
Young people, old people, everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone. It's unbelievable. And I think to myself, gosh, you know, is this what real life is like for everybody? Is this what life is like for normal people? If that's what it's like for me with size 16, imagine what it's like for those skinny minis of size 6. You know, they get whatever they want handed to them on a plate. I mean, people will be falling over themselves just to get a little bit of that, you know. And I
But then
just,
I can honestly say I wouldn't trade, because what we were talking about before, having to be more and more and smarter and faster and work harder, I wouldn't want to have been one of those people that had everything handed to me,
oh no, I
because
wouldn't either, because I think I
yeah,
think I think they, you know, that you just can be not particularly nice. Well, some people are
yeah,
lovely, but
yeah,
maybe some people aren't particularly aware of other people's situations and have that sort of empathy. You know, I
yes.
mean, I understand what it's like to be on the other side of the fence, and I'm kind of sitting on the fence at the moment. I haven't crossed over to the smaller side yet, but I'm getting there, you know. And I just think, okay, life might start beginning at 60.
You
My life
actually
might,
shine. I've got to say,
my,
you like the energy jumps off of you. I've discovered someone on Instagram. She's really young. She's a lot younger than me. Florence Givens. And oh my God, her videos, and you're like her, the happiness just coming out of her skin, her face. It's like, and it's contagious. You just want a little bit of that happiness, that like, and you've got that. Like, if you didn't lose another pound, you are like compellingly, you're just like sparkle.
thank you very much. Even late at night with a little bit of, probably, I'm probably a little, slightly bit of little lip gloss, but going out walking the dog certainly gets me a little bit sun blushed. So
Now,
that helps.
I'm going to interrupt you just for 1 second. Jonathan wants to know. Um, he says, "Excuse my ignorance, but can you briefly explain Ravenous Butterflies?" And that might be good because I'm assuming because we all watch it, like we're all constantly on. Can you explain the concept behind it and what you do on Ravenous Butterflies?
Okay, so Ravenous Butterflies is very simple. It is basically beautiful paintings, and I try to find paintings which aren't not necessarily famous, but they have a certain light in them. I mean, they have a lovely kind of effervescent glow about them, something that's uplifting and positive. It's quite female centric. I mean, 85% of our followers are women. We've got 15% of lovely men as well, sensitive men, quite a lot of them. Hello, Jonathan. I hope you're one of them.
Jonathan is very sensitive, but he's probably like, "Let's stop talking about weight. What's going on here?"
Yeah. And so we basically post, well, I do it all, it's all me. So I basically post beautiful paintings that I like, that resonate with me. And then I will find a bit of literature or poetry or some prose or something, some words that go for me that sort of meld with that painting or that image. And maybe it's the other way around. Maybe I'll think about, oh yes, I read, I don't know, The Midnight Library or whatever. So I know a quote from that that relates to sliding doors and people, and what if they made that choice in life or that choice in life, and then I'll find a painting that goes with that. So it kind of, but the combination of the two is far more than the individual parts, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. I think that both of them together make something far bigger than the two separate pieces of it. And then in the last kind of year, so anyway, so that turned into two books, which I've done with my publisher. So during lockdown, I had a lot of people that wanted actual proper books that they could hold and
Can we
keep.
see your books? I think you have
So
them
I've
right
done
there.
two books. So I've done, my first one was this one, which is An Apothecary of Art to Soothe Your
Gorgeous.
Soul. And it's really lovely. It's basically, I mean, I'll just open it wherever. So it's basically an image, a lovely painting with some, with some words. And each, they're just lovely. So,
Wow.
and then we did another book, or I did another book last year, Calm Your Mind, which is very similar again. It's got your, gorgeous images
Oh,
with
beautiful.
with some poetry and things. And there's a lot of stuff from Scandinavian, other paintings from the sort of Skagen, the Scandinavian group, because they have that lovely light, that sort of midsummer light. And then a lot of American painters, British, European, whatever. But they're not, some of them, it's quite an education. So I've also written little bios about each of the artists and authors in the back of the book. So if you wanted to learn a bit more, you could do that. So it's just they're just lovely things. And so that's kind of what Ravenous Butterflies is. And then my publisher said to me, oh, I think you should start doing some videos and recordings and blah blah blah. So I started doing that sort of when my first book came out, which was at the end of 2023. So I started doing some videos, and those have been quite popular. So now I do these little videos every day, whether it's me on a walk or reading poetry or reading something from a book. I just did some Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dalloway the other day. But it's always just the kind of uplifting life stuff, something that's,
Yeah.
I find
It
something
is uplifting.
beautiful.
It
Yeah,
is really uplifting. I've got chronic fatigue syndrome, so I'm getting out a little more now, but not as much.
yeah,
And your
yeah,
videos make me feel vicariously like I'm getting out. Now I've got two comments. Jonathan, Lisa's in the UK.
yeah.
And Edie says, and we get a drool over adorable Clemmy. Edie also says, early bariatric patients used to commonly refer to themselves as butterflies in my head. No,
Oh,
as butterflies. In my head, I thought that might be a logical and apt association.
well, it
That's
is.
interesting.
Yeah, it is because when you suddenly go from being somebody who was wheelchair bound like me, and you feel like, I felt like I'm really missed out on like 2 decades of my life from being unable and not confident enough to do things or tackle things, or I can't go up that hill, or how am I going to get down those stairs, or how am I going to go up that bell tower? I can't go up to there and get to see that view, and everybody else can. I'll wait down here. It's very much like that. And as soon as I had my surgery, and now obviously now having lost the weight, even more weight in the past few months, I feel like I feel like I'm a butterfly that's come out of a cocoon. I feel like this ravenous butterfly that's just kind of flapping my wings to catch up. It's like there's so much that I want to do. I mean, even I've been planning all these walks and things, and I mean, if I thought to going, I've got this analogy. So if you can imagine two check-in suitcases, 25 kilos each or whatever. Okay, that's what I used to carry around with me until very recently. Go down to the shops to get yourself a pint of milk. You're not going to carry two check-in suitcases down to the shops, are you? I mean, you're not. You're not going to bother. You're going to get in the car. You're going to drive. You're going to get people delivery, so they deliver it to you. So you do even less exercise. Whereas now, I'm thinking tomorrow night, where are we going to walk to? We're going to do a circuit, 7 kilometer circuit from my house, big circuit all the way back to my house again through the countryside. I would never have even dreamt of going to the end of my road, as I said, to get the milk. I couldn't have done it. And
And it
now I've
feels
got
good when you're doing it. See, that's the difference. When
so good.
fit people think, oh, just exercise and eat less
Oh
and
yeah,
exercise more.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you exercising in a fit body with a lot of muscle feels 100% different than someone exercising when their body isn't at its peak and they're
You
carrying a lot
can't.
of extra
You
weight.
can't. You can't do it. You just can't do it because every part of you aches.
Yeah.
I had both my knees replaced. I had to learn to walk again. My knees don't hurt me anymore. My arms hurt me a bit because the dog's pulling on the lead or I'm walking or I'm doing stuff, carrying shopping bags, which I never used to do, down the road and back. And, it's like, why are my arms aching? Well, it's because I'm doing all this exercise. And I'm not kind of like an ex-smoker who's saying, oh, it's evangelistic or anything like that. I'm just saying I just feel so much better and I just feel so much more capable. Even, I went and bought a pair of Brooks, cross track, whatever shoes, and I feel stable on my feet for the first time in decades. I feel like I can do it, and that's a lovely feeling when you've always felt like the one that can't, you know.
Well, what you said when you said, and put weight aside. I mean, we could be talking about anything. We all have our demons and our battles. We all have
Yep,
our things that we want to change.
yep.
And it's lovely to talk to somebody that has faced their demons head on and is now beating them. It's when you said, I feel like my life is going to be okay now. That just that resounded that almost knocked me over, that sentence.
Yeah, but I do. And I think one of the things which has stuck with me, which I think about a lot, and I say to my children, you can't fix what you don't face. If you don't face it, you can't fix it. And if you don't face it and fix it, and you do fix it, if you face it and you fix it, then hello, everything is going to be okay because, okay, you can get struck down by lightning or whatever can happen. But if you don't try, you know,
Yeah. And you're the person that tried. Nobody can ever take that experience of having succeeded at conquering your demons. Nobody can ever take that away from you once you've got that. Um, oh yeah, that's a good point. So Edie says that, so from everything you've said, you've been working through very complex real traumas and things and hoping the sharing has helped. The sharing, because you're very transparent in your videos on YouTube as well. You guys, the link on YouTube will be in the about section if you're watching this call on YouTube. The sharing is a strength in itself, isn't it? Because they say that the shame you hide, what you hide becomes the shame. Like, do you think the sharing makes you stronger?
yeah. And I also, I really don't want to play the blame card because I'm the only one it's not like my ex-husband's fault. Or yes, I say things about my mum because she was instrumental in where I got to, but it's like, and I couldn't do anything when I was a child, but when I was married, I could have got out of that marriage. It didn't have to take me 36 years or whatever it was. I mean, I think it's never too late to make a change, is what I'm trying to say. And it's really, and it's, yeah, it's really not about blaming, and it's really about just grabbing your life and running with it because it's never too late to do it. I mean, I've just bought out 2 books. Who'd have thought, after everything I'd gone through, with all of my ups and downs and my traumas and dramas and goodness knows what, raising my kids and da 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 da, whatever it was, that I could have, brought out two best-selling books. I'm just starting on my third one, which is going to be about very different. It's not going to be about art and literature. It's going to be about how you can transform your life and how you can become that ravenous butterfly, against all odds, because you are the only one that can do it in the end. You have to look deep within yourself and find that kind of energy and find that drive to do it, and get out of that situation and believe in yourself. I mean, most importantly, believe in yourself and love yourself and do it. And so I'm starting this book about that really, and about my weight, and about how how you can transform your life. Basically, it's in your hands.
And the way you, and see, there's a profound difference between your message and the way you present your story and the way all the online people, the message is always, look at me, I'm in my 60s or 70s, and I'm having fun anyway in the latter half of my life. You're saying, look at me, I'm at the beginning of my life.
Yeah, I'm at the beginning. This is a whole new life. This is a whole new story, a whole new book. It's not just
Yeah.
a chapter, it's a whole new book. And
I think we all get beginnings. We all could have a beginning. Why does it have to be a, oh, my story's not over yet kind of thing? So we've got more messages. I don't want to forget. Edie says, I've been following for a couple of years through COVID and breast cancer. I have both lovely books, and yes, the sharing has helped me. Life after life. I love that. See, I love that Edie story as well. I
so
love that.
Edie, there are so many, as you've probably seen if you're following Rav, there are so many women, especially, and men who share those types of stories, like your life story. And, I think the lovely thing about it is that we have this little kind of ecosystem of kindness. And I know that a lot of people have probably become friends with people, on the page because they've met like-minded folk. And a lot of the people, although I go on about the trolls and the weirdos, but the 99.9% of people there are very, very supportive and very kind, of each other, and have been through, a lot of people have been through a lot on that page, like you, Edie, and I think if you can find that strength and that compassion and that self-healing love from the stuff that I do, then that is why I'm here doing it, really. That's my mission in life, and I really feel like I've found what I'm here for, which is a lovely, very empowering thing. I don't get paid very much for, it'd be quite nice if I got some money. But if I was a millionaire for every nice thing people have said, but yeah, but I'm very pleased to be doing it.
But you're collecting evidence because I had a conversation with someone today and they were telling me about just all the awful things in the world. It was just all the awful things happening now in this. And you're doing the opposite. All those posts that you put up in your books, you're collecting, actively seeking evidence of the kindness and resilience of humanity
And the beauty. There is so much
and the beauty.
beauty out there. And the thing that I've talked about, which I'm sure, some of you guys will know from what I've said, is really looking deeply into things and really long looking at things and really appreciating, the changes of the seasons, the apple blossom, the little bumblebee, or, the way the light flickers through the leaves, and just taking that time, taking that moment in life to see the creation of everything around us and how beautiful it is, even if there's a bomb going off here and whatever, yes, do your bit to try and help the people in situations around the world who aren't as fortunate to live in a free country, like we do in the UK. I'm not going to mention the US, but like we do in the UK. Yeah, exactly. But we're watching it from a distance, thankfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, but to know that we can make our own change ourselves, our little own change, whether it's planting, like I've been planting some runner beans and things. So knowing that I'm going to be able to put some food, homegrown food on my table, for my kids when they come home, at the end of term or whatever it is, knowing that, my little dog's happy running around and chasing the butterflies and, blowing dandelion things, whatever it is that we do, noticing those little things, because those tiny things are really, at the end of the day, the things that certainly bring me joy. And those are the things that mount up into big joy. Those little tiny things can grow into big, gigantic, humongous joy and bring so much pleasure. If only we notice what's around us and what's right in front of our noses.
But that's a skill. I think being joyful is a skill. You're teaching your children how to be joyful by
Yeah.
setting an example.
Well, it's really important.
Yeah.
Go and pick the rose from or the little daisies from the garden or whatever it is and stick them in a jam jar. I mean, that is just as beautiful or more beautiful than a really expensive bouquet of flowers. Why spend all that money when you've got it right in front of your nose?
I have a challenge for you. I have a question. And we've got Kim here. You know what? It's been a long time since I put her on the spot. You guys, Jonathan, Kim, Edie, Maeve, um, I need a quirky question here. I'm going to throw my question out, and then I want a
Go
quirky
on then.
question by the end of the call. We haven't done one in a long time. Um, my question is, the rest of your life, describe the rest of your life in 5 words.
Health, love, peace, kindness, family.
Those are 5 pretty good words.
And my
I'm
dog
gonna,
that's under my desk, under my feet here
I
asleep.
was gonna, I
He
was gonna
comes
say,
in the family. He
yes,
comes
I
in the family.
totally stole that from Stephen Colbert, but funny enough, I didn't know who he was, Edie. And somebody on the last call was like, it's a Stephen Colbert. I'm like, yeah, yeah. But I love the question. I love the question. I might need to give him credit from now on if I'm going to use it on every call, huh? I'll write the name down. Okay. Um, quirky questions, guys.
You can
Anyone?
ask me anything. I don't, whatever you want.
Okay. I'm going to say one that Barbara asked in the past. If you could be a cartoon character or a superhero, who would you be?
Gosh. Cartoon character. Oh, I think it would have to be someone like SpongeBob, wouldn't it? Because he's just so completely ridiculous and lives at the bottom of the sea, which is quite nice with all his little chums. I don't know. And what would it be? Cartoon character. What was the other thing?
Or a superhero?
Superhero. I think I'd have to make one up. I'd have to be I'd have to make up a superhero, wouldn't I?
Yeah,
It would have to be something like I don't know, Ravenous Butterflies woman or something. I don't know.
I love that. I can see the outfit as we speak. Now, I have to say, I was distracted because Edie's, I like this Colbert guy. I only saw a clip. I never saw the whole show. So she says, this is another one from Colbert. What is the best sandwich?
Best sandwich, I can tell you exactly what the best sandwich is. When I lived in New York, there used to be, I lived in a place called Rye, right on the water in Westchester County, and there used to be this fancy French restaurant across the street, and they had a little bakery, and they used to make this amazing sandwich, which was basically like dark German bread, really sort of savory, dark, really good home baked bread. And inside would be tuna, mayo, sliced crunchy apple, celery, red onion, but really finely chopped, or shallots, all mixed together and really in there. And that was absolutely delicious. And that is a firm family favorite. I make that for the kids and they love it in a jacket potato as well. And they have that as a kind of go-to, makes me feel like home kind of sandwich or jacket potato if they don't have much money and they're trying to or use up anything they've got in the fridge. They do that and that's delicious. That's my
I like
favorite
that.
sandwich.
I might
Favorite.
need to rewatch the video and get that recipe
So make sure the apple's really crunchy. Don't get a soggy apple because that'll make it disgusting and you'll think, what's Lisa's taste buds all about? But that crunchy apple, celery, a little bit of chopped up shallots or red onion or spring onion, tuna, mayo, really good bread,
I
sourdough
love
toast
that.
or dark German or something, rye, whatever, delicious.
Now we've got quirky questions coming in left and right. Lillian, I didn't realize you were here. Hi, Lillian. Okay. Lillian says, along the same lines, what's your superpower? The power that makes you uniquely you.
I think probably my joy in the little things and optimism. I'm very optimistic. I probably
Yeah.
shouldn't be, but I am very optimistic.
The
I
only
think,
other choice is pessimism, and I mean, I'd choose optimism any day.
yeah, I mean, but I'm very much a glass is overflowing kind of person. I'm always, I find it very difficult when I have a down day, because it's just not me, and I can't, and I feel like I go into a bit of a funk, and I just think, oh no, am I going to be like this for the rest of my life? Yeah. And it lasts for about half a day.
I'm laughing because I, oh no, yes.
It lasts
Okay.
for about half a day, and then I just feel really miserable. It's usually because I'm overtired, or I've had a lot of people staying, or doing not too much for me, and I just, yeah, kind of bit of burnout, just maybe for a day, and then a good night's sleep, and I'm kind of fixed, really.
Do you know what? I recently discovered that like really late in life. Like maybe the world's not ending. Maybe I just need a nap.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly.
sometimes that's what it was. Now, Kim says, have you ever had a risque picture recommended to you from a fan? Yeah, do you happen to
Recommended
watch
to me
that?
or sent to me.
Was sent to you?
What, you mean a risque
She
picture,
says,
someone asking me to take a photograph, or somebody sending me
oh,
photographs?
yeah. I don't think she's talking about a real person. I assumed one of the classical. Yeah,
Oh,
one of the class.
oh, sorry, I thought you were talking
No,
about.
no, no, no. We're not talking selfies
Oh yeah, I
in
thought
the
you were talking about
bathroom.
sexting or something. Sorry. Well, I was just, yeah. Anyway, I can't post risky pictures on Facebook, which is actually, when I say risky, sorry, that's my dog scratching. It's not me.
Oh.
It's probably getting excited at the thought of risky pictures. But no, I can't. I mean, they have a nipple ban, so I can't, even if it's a painting, they still sometimes try to ban me or whatever. So I don't even go there anymore, really. So I can't do anything too erotic. It has to be it's usually quite clean these days. I
You know
can't.
the picture, the picture of my favorite picture in the whole world. I just got the print today. And I don't know if I saw them on your site because you said you put cheery pictures on. This isn't, the raven in the boots.
Yeah,
I just got that from my wall. I love that picture more than anything. I can't remember the name of the artist.
it's not the Gauguin one, the Nevermore, the Raven
No,
with.
no, it's
Okay,
he's taking a long country walk and he's got big old combat boots on. And I'll send you the picture. It's
okay,
I
okay.
love it. Love it, love it, love it. He's got serious attitude about him. It's one of
Mm,
my favorites.
mm.
Okay. This call has been more than I thought it would be. And I have loved every single second of it. Normally at the end of the call, I ask for one piece of advice that you would like if the YouTube audience remembers nothing else. What one thing would you like them to take away from this call in like 100 years or so watching this?
I think deep looking, really looking into the people that you love deeply and trying to understand and make space and time for them, and recognize their pain and, you know, give them space. And yeah, I think that would be my advice, to really notice the little things and really just to be there for the people that you love.
I love that. I do. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on the call. And thank you because even just in knowing you and talking to you on 2 calls, I can honestly say you've changed my life.
Oh, please.
No, you have that one comment, I think my life is going to be okay now, has sent me off in directions and paths you wouldn't believe.
Good,
I
because
think it's a reminder. We could say one thing and it can affect people profoundly.
well, you are you're the main machine of your life, aren't you? It's up to you. Nobody else is going to do it.
Yeah. But sometimes the right kind word in the right place can help people. And it's amazing.
Thank you.
And you've been there for a lot of us. You've been there for us through COVID, through the pandemic, through you were going through things in your own life, but you were there with this like voice reminding us of all the good in the world and in history. And we've never needed that reminder more than we do these
Yeah,
days. And
yeah, it's really important work.
Our hearts are with you, Lisa,
Thank
at
you.
Ravenous Butterflies. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much
Bye.
for inviting me. Thanks, guys, for all your questions. Have
Bye,
a lovely
everyone.
evening.
Thanks for joining. We'll see you on the
Pleasure.
other side. Bye.
Lots of
Mwah.
love. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.